Okay, I think we'll go ahead and get this afternoon's webinar started. Today we're talking about the process and the details around buying a flight simulator. A couple of administrative notes before we get into the meat and potatoes. This will be recorded. It'll be available for review probably later today on landing.redbirdflight.com. And if you signed up for this webinar, which means you're here, you did sign up, you'll get an email with the recording as well that you can share with anybody you'd like. Our webinars are very casual and rely on questions, so please, if you have a question, type it into the box whenever it comes up, and we'll try to get to them during the course of the webinar so we keep everybody up to date. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. First, my name is Josh Harnagle. I'm the Vice President of Marketing for Redbird, and I'm a flight instructor. I'd like to introduce Michael Pickford, our Director of Sales. Michael, go ahead and turn yourself on. There you are. Hi, Michael.
Howdy.
Michael runs our sales team and all of our sales operations, and he is definitely the expert when it comes to those things. So, Michael, let's go ahead and dig right in, okay?
Sure.
We got kind of a big topic list to cover today. We're going to go through tell a little bit about what we are, our products, and then we're going to go through kind of the common questions that we get during the sales process. Like I said, there'll be plenty of time for your questions as well. So with that said, let's go on. Michael, tell me about Redbird. What is Redbird?
Yeah, so Redbird was a company that was founded in 2007, really just on a mission to make flight simulation more affordable for operators, flight schools, universities, and also individuals. Really, it started with the FMX. That's the 3-axis motion platform we have, single set of controls. And since then, it's expanded to include devices that people can operate at home, both certified and not certified, to devices that are built for a specific jet or turbine aircraft. So started out with an initial goal and have expanded on that, on the original product, but the mission statement has always been the same, and we've been very successful at it.
Awesome, that's great. Well, I think it might be helpful for us if we kind of get a sense of the audience. I'm going to kick off a poll here, and I just kind of get a sense of how many people currently own a Redbird that are on the group. So go ahead and click yes, no on there, and we'll give it just a few more seconds here. Okay, excellent. It looks like we have about 90% of the attendees do not own a Redbird. So good, you came to the right webinar. I would have been a little worried about you if most of them already owned one. So you kind of mentioned the product, the FMX and some other ones, but let's kind of walk through in sort of broad strokes our product line. Where does it start? Where do we top out? And kind of some rough price points.
Sure. I guess I will start from, again, touch quickly on everything, the home individual products that we make, and then go up from there. I guess you could say I'm going to start with the lowest price and go up to the highest price. For those of you that like to put together your own computers, find your preferred sim software, source all of that equipment, but just need the peripherals, the yoke, the throttles, the rudders, we have our alloy equipment. You can see that on the home simulator controls on our website. From there, if you don't want to set up your own computer, we can provide one for you. It includes everything except for the rudders, and that is the Redbird J. It's not a certified device, but it is a out-of-the-box plug-and-play device that you can train with. For the K through 12 market, we also have the J Velocity, which has upgraded computing components as well as a more robust yoke system. As we like to say, the enthusiasm of the younger aviators can really put some wear and tear on the simulator. So we developed another product specifically for that market. From there, we go up into our certified simulators. Start with the basic aviation training devices. That's the TD and the TD2. Those are extremely popular with instrument-rated pilots that want a convenient and cost-effective way to maintain their instrument currency We also get a lot of people that are starting on their private and know that they're going to go all the way through their instrument. And so at that point, you can see this as a long-term investment that will save you a lot more money in the long run, because you can log a little bit of time to your private and 10 hours towards your instrument. From there, the TD and TD2, we actually get up into our advanced aviation training devices. Oh, by the way, just generally speaking on price, the TD, TD2 are right at $7,000 and $8,000, and you can expand it from there based on how you customize it. The advanced aviation training devices start at about $33,000 for the LD. Includes one aircraft, but not shipping and installation. So that is where we expand into the flight school market, and the schools can customize it based on their fleet. So you're not paying for 30 different aircraft that you're never going to fly, or try and hope to, if you build it, they will come. And it's pay for what you need. And from the LD, we basically expand that. Now, as we go higher up to the FMX or the MCX that you see pictured there, there's no higher certification level. Really, it's about what training environment you want to provide for your students and what's your budget. The LD, our FMX is probably the most popular AATD, or at least most well known. The LD is just the inside of the FMX. From there, we have the SD, which is the enclosed version of the LD, or if you're looking at that MCX, it's just the cockpit without the motion platform. The SD, from there we step up to the FMX, and that is the single control full motion version of our AATD that we originally came out with. Then you have the MCX, which is the dual control version. All the basic pricing can be seen up on our website. But I mentioned the LD, that's at about $33,000 before installation and options. The MCX you see there, dual controls, is at $90,000 before installation and options. Those are our most popular, the certified devices. But we also wanted to provide a training platform for more advanced training. And I don't just mean like instrument, commercial ATP, all of which you can do on the ATD, but a more realistic training platform for turbine and jet aircraft, because there you're not just putting the keys in the ignition and cranking the engine. It's a much more detailed process. So we have our AMS product line. So anything jet or turbine is going to be dedicated in that AMS product line, and those start at $200,000 plus shipping and installation.
Okay, great. So I think it's important for people to kind of understand a little bit about our general pricing philosophy, and to put it in terms that most people will relate to. We take it as the sort of the Honda Civic method, right? So there's a base price, and it works. It'll get you to work and back during the day. Right. And you get base price for an LD, comes with one airplane, everything you need to do it. But we also have a bunch of options, and this applies both for like the TD up through the MCX or the AMS, and it's really configurable to what you need. So if you wanted 4 airplanes, if your fleet had 4 different aircraft types, you could get an MCX with 4 different aircraft models. Obviously, there's cost associated with all that, and then there's a bunch of supporting software and other training tools that can be built around the specific need of the flight school. What's kind of a ballpark do you think your average, let's say 10 airplane, 8 or 9 instructor flight school, if they buy a Redbird, what's the average purchase price with options and everything that they get?
I think with that number of airplanes and instructors, we would typically see somebody go for an FMX. Mm-hmm. Now, I assume you mean the entire fleet is 10 airplanes.
Yeah, yeah. So maybe there's 2 different types.
A 172, then something retract, and then something twin. Okay. So you have 3 aircraft, 2 are additional, shipping and installation. You're probably going to be looking at around $90,000, $95,000. Yeah. That also includes a control loading yoke, which isn't required, but very, very popular option.
Yeah, for sure. So I think that's a good number to keep in mind if you're really looking at one of the larger sims. it's probably with a motion base, you're probably talking $80,000-$90,000 out the door when it's fully installed and you get all the options you want. So the thing that comes up most, probably the number one question you get in a sales conversation, and just as I used to be a sales guy, so I know this from experience, is certification. So talk to me a little bit about what we mean by certification. Let's start with the FAA, because that's where most of our the regulatory structure, most of our devices go under. So let's start there.
Sure. So it's pretty broad reaching, I would say, from private to instrument, commercial, ATP, and then if you're in a 141 program, it can cover multi-engine as well as CFI, CFII. Most everybody's Part 61, so I'll go over that.
Well, let's reverse. Let's start with, we got some acronyms on the screen, AATD and
Sure.
BATD. What does that mean?
Sure. Okay, so all of the certified devices we have are aviation training devices. That is the ATD that you see up on the screen there. The FAA has two classifications for aviation training devices, and that is advanced and basic. So you have advanced aviation training devices and basic aviation training devices. The basic aviation training devices are our desktop simulators, the TD and the TD2, that are very popular in the home market, but also pretty popular for smaller flight schools or university programs as well. On those devices, you can log 2.5 hours towards your private pilot certificate, and then 10 hours towards your instrument rating. In addition to that, you can also use the sim, just like you would in the aircraft, to maintain your instrument currency. So as long as you're current and you're not in need of an IPC or in that 6-month window before you need an IPC, you can start up the sim in the morning while a pot of coffee is brewing and shoot an approach, put it down in your logbook, and go about your day. Saves you a whole bunch of time and energy and money from going out to the airport and doing that on your own. That is about where the BATD certification or allowances stop. So I'll move on to the AATD. It is the same 2.5 hours for your private pilot certificate, but it's double for your instrument rating. So you can get 20 hours towards your instrument rating. You can do the same with maintaining certification or currency on your instrument. But if you are in need of an IPC, you can do most of it on one of our AATDs. And I say most of it because it's not approved for circling approaches or landings. So still much more affordable to go off of the AATD. You can also log 50 hours towards your commercial rating and then 25 hours towards ATP as well. And again, there's some more allowances for the 141 schools. I don't want to mention the exact hours because that's actually percentages of the approved curriculum. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to reach out, or you can download the LOA from our website.
Yeah, so a couple of references. One is FAA Advisory Circular 61-136D. That's what defines the aviation training device and the two different types. So if you want to go to the source document and really understand what we're talking about, that's the place to go. And then we have on our website what's called the letter of authorization, which is issued to the manufacturer but applies to any device that we make that meets the initial manufacturing specifications or any approved updates, that lists exactly what you can do in this device by subpart and item number. And those are available on our website. Yeah.
One thing to mention to that is we actually created another document called Understanding AATD or Understanding ATDs. And for those of you that don't want to go digging through the regulations, shoot me an email or let me know. Like we give you a brief synopsis of each regulation that applies.
Yeah, and I'm going to go ahead and do this now. I'm sure it'll be out there, but npickford@redbirdflight.com is how you get to that gentleman right there. So I feel obliged to say this though. So we just talked a lot about logging time. How about just using it for training? If you're a private pilot student, is it only valuable for 2.5 hours, or could you do more?
No, you should do more. One thing that we did, Josh, you're very familiar with this method because you ran it, is the train to proficiency in the simulator and then go out and execute in the aircraft. We ran our Skyport training facility like this for a few years, and the results were really, really good. And what Josh is trying to say is, well, I'll put it bluntly. What I'm trying to say is, if you're using the sim only for the amount of hours that you can log, and then you stop using it, you're wasting your money, because the repetition that comes with training in simulation is incredibly beneficial. There's a whole bunch of time that is spent. There's a whole bunch of money that is spent burning gas, getting back to final so you can practice that crosswind landing again, or back to the initial approach fix. Simulators, as you all know, you can just immediately restart it. I always like to compare it to online poker, where you have your Doyle Brunsons that went around in back rooms and bars and playing one hand every 10 or 15 minutes. To a few years ago, you had 5 tables open at one time, and you're literally getting thousands of hands a month. So it's aviation. You're learning. You're drinking from a fire hose. A simulation just makes it that much easier to digest and repeat, and just keep on doing it over again.
Yeah, great. So another couple quick references. One, if you're interested in the TD and the home sim stuff, specifically like using it at home to maintain proficiency, we did a webinar either last week or the week before that's called Maintaining Proficiency at Home with the Redbird, and it's available on landing.redbirdflight.com. You can watch that. And then we also, I do a presentation called Best Practices for Teaching in a Redbird that's available on Landing as well, that really goes into detail about how to use a sim for teaching outside of what's the loggable time towards actually creating better pilots and delivering better training value. So those are 2 references for you if you're interested in those topics. Okay. All right, so we got a quick question from Brian. He wants to know, once the 2.5 hours are logged towards the private, how are additional hours logged? I'll go ahead and take that one. So the 2.5 hours towards the private really matters for your 8710 when you fill out the application to get your new certificate. How you manage your individual logbook is really up to you. You can do it. Some people will log every hour they put it in there, and they just make a note on it, so that way when they have to pull out hours to put on an 8710 form, they don't include the simulator time that doesn't count towards that, or for insurance purposes or whatever. Other people don't log it, don't put it in the logbook. I would recommend, I've switched to ForeFlight logbook. I think it's really nice and powerful, and you can log things in ForeFlight logbook in a way that will make it easy to extract the stuff that you just need for like an 8710 form that only counts the 2.5 hours, but you can keep track of all the time you've done. So the FAA really doesn't care how you, well, I mean, they do care that you log, but you can put stuff in your logbook that doesn't necessarily count towards the 8710, just so you have a record of it, of that training being delivered. So that's the answer to that. All right, let's go on. Lead time and process. So let's go back to our theoretical flight school. Happens to be located in, let's say, Cleveland, Ohio. And I want to get myself an FMX. I've decided to do it. How does that process work? I've been talking to you a couple of times. I've been on the website. I sort of know what I want. Walk me through how I would go from being interested and ready to move forward to having something delivered in my building.
Sure. So I assume you mean starting from like order placed, as opposed to
Yeah, let's start before that. I want to get a couple of quotes. Yeah.
Okay, sure. Yeah, well, it starts with a phone call. Just give our office a call, ask for anybody in sales, and myself or Alex can speak with you. Email's more convenient, shoot us an email. We'll reach out to you and get a better feeling for the type of training that you want to use the simulator for, aircraft, the basics. From there, figure out which simulator based on your budget is gonna work for you in the school, and then start looking at optional equipment. Once we have that lined up, there'll be some discussion about space, power requirements. We can discuss all of that later. And just some general questions about getting it set up in your facility, make sure the facility can take it. Once the quotes are nailed down and you know what exactly you are going to be getting, we'll go to a contract, and I'll put together a sales contract for you to review. Once everything's good, sign it, email it back to us, and then a 10% deposit on any of the large sims, and a signed contract is when we put an order on the production schedule. From that point, FMX is going to be 4 weeks. Just about everything is 4 weeks on the piston AATD side. Not AMSs are longer, but from there, about a week before, maybe 2 weeks before delivery, our director of installations, Jeff, is going to reach out to you. They're going to make sure that the facility is ready to go, and give you a date that will be showing up, knocking on your front door, ready to get started. Installation on a motion simulator takes about a day and a half. I'd probably budget for 2. It's really a day to set everything up. We take a couple hours the next day just to make it look nice, and then we'll sit down with the owners, the operators, the instructors, anybody that you want to have knowledge about starting up, shutting down, launching flights, going over instructor station, just operations training, really. We'll stick around for a few hours, half a day or so, to do that. It's a simple machine to operate, so it doesn't take a whole lot of time. But when I was doing installations, all the questions would start really once you're sitting in the machine, and now you're like, oh, okay, how do I do this? How do I do that? How do I do that? And so, it takes 3 buttons to turn the thing on. It's incredibly easy. So we'll stick around and make you happy after that.
Okay, so just to clarify, that's for the large sims, and I know that was my setup, right? What about for a TD, if I wanted a TD?
TDs, generally speaking, we like to have those sitting on the shelf. So there's usually a 24 to 48 hour turnaround time based on demand. Anybody that's looking right now, as everybody knows, there's been a lot of flight schools shut down. Things are starting to open up, which is great. But there's been a lot of demand for at-home simulation. So right now we're looking at about a 2-week lead time just due to demand. But generally speaking, we like to keep those on the shelf if we can.
But that's not, we don't have to go to contract for that, right? They can just order that online, take a credit card.
Yeah, you can, we have online retailers. We have our own retail website online, or you can come directly and work with either Alex or I to build a quote, go over all the questions. And once you're ready to order, you can do so over the phone. You can send us a check, wire transfer, PayPal, whatever works best for y'all. We'll figure it out.
Gotcha. Okay. And then, okay. So what about, that's all domestic stuff. What about somebody who wants to buy a sim internationally? How's the process different?
Really, it's not that much different. All it comes down to, I would say, is that we require payment in full before it leaves our dock. And once it does so, we pack it up. Most of the time we arrange the shipping for the customer, although they're welcome to arrange it themselves. And it leaves the dock. And most international shipments, well, let's say North America, it's probably going to take about a week or so, maybe 2 weeks to be delivered. But then anything that's crossing an ocean is going to be anywhere between 30 and 40 days. Now, on the installation side of things, I guess that is can be quite a bit different. There's 2 options. One is that the customer would send representatives to us in Austin, Texas, where we set up in our production facility and build the simulator with you. This takes about 3 or 4 days, just because we encourage you to take notes, take pictures, take videos, ask questions, really take your time getting to know how the sim is put together. Not a terribly complicated process, but it is one that has steps that you have to follow. Once that's done, if there's time, help us pack it up. If not, enjoy Austin. We'll ship it out to you, and then you can go back home, and once it arrives, you'll have the knowledge to put it together. And of course, we'll be here to support you along the way as well. The other option for international customers is we just come out to meet you and we set it up. It'll be the exact same process, pay, ship. Once it installs and clear customs, we'll book a flight and come out. Installation on that end, depending on location, will probably take maybe 2.5 days, just because of jet lag. I've done that in Indonesia, and it's brutal. And yeah, same thing. We set it up with a little bit of help, and then go over operations training.
Okay, great. Just a couple of quick notes on that comes up on the international stuff. The customer is responsible for customs and duties. So if there's any import stuff that needs to happen, it's the customer's responsibility. Generally speaking, we ship that once it leaves our dock, it is it's insured by the carrier, but it is essentially the customer's property, and then they're responsible for getting it into the country. And then how's this changed in terms of COVID and everything that's going on? Because you're talking about people coming to facilities. How does that work? What's going on with that?
So far, we've done a couple installation trainings for domestic customers. One was actually down in San Marcos at a hangar at that airport, where a customer drove down, met us. We trained them how to install their LD. They loaded it up into their own trailer and drove it home. The other one was out in Las Vegas. Everything got shut down. I mean, like a day or the week before we were supposed to ship, but he needed to keep going and take ownership, start using it. So we shipped it out to him and did a remote installation there. There was also a MCX that was just delivered to in Europe, and we gave them an installation manual and talked them through the installation, which I believe they're going through right now.
Yeah, and I think that's an important point, that there's a lot of steps to build one, but it's not like it's rocket surgery, right? Like, it's mostly twist this bolt together and plug this wire into that. But it's got to be done in a
belt.
Yeah, it's got to be done in a specific order. But if anyone, like if you have an AMP or anybody that's got any kind of mechanical inclination, they should be able to assemble it. I mean, both Mike and I were installers, and as far as I know, none of the sims we built have fallen apart yet. So I feel like we got it. It's a doable thing. So, all right, let's move on. Unless you have anything else on process you want to talk about.
No, I think that's it.
Okay, good. Configurations and customizations. So one of the real advantages of our simulators, especially on the large side, is how much configuration and customization you can do, how many options there are, all that. Can you kind of just walk us through at a high level what that is like, what kind of options we have?
Sure. So on the configuration side of things, what Josh is referring to is aircraft options. One, on the AATD side of things, you're going to get one aircraft. There's a list of them on our website. We've broken them out to single engine, twin engine, steam gauge, glass panel. Generally speaking, we have tried to build a fleet of the most popular GA piston training aircraft that you're going to see at flight schools. The avionics panels are going to be built off of steam gauges, and the most popular really Garmin emulations that we can. So, you know, I do get the question a lot of, you know, can I have my specific autopilot or avionics suite or this and that? And generally speaking, we don't do the one-off customizations. That's a matter of bandwidth. And also you know, we like the idea of that you're learning how to fly. This is a great tool for learning the aircraft, how an aircraft operates, I should say, airspace environment, putting your head in the cockpit and learning how to think like a pilot. So it may not match your avionics panel precisely, but that's okay. From the aircraft availability, then customizing the simulator really kind of depends on how realistic you want to make the extras. So one of the most popular things that we see going out is the Horizon monitor expansion, which is going to add 2 more monitors to your peripheral vision to increase the visual range to about 260 degrees. That means that you can look left on downwind and see the threshold of the runway at a 45-degree angle. That's a fantastic add-on if the budget can hold it. You can also add ways to integrate your iPad with the simulator. So anybody that's new to using any electronic flight bag, especially private pilots, can do so and figure out the nuances of it while they're actually in the simulator and not up in the aircraft and in that environment. Now, there's also options like Insight. So if you're doing a ground school, you can set up a TV and pluck one of the students out, use him as a guinea pig, throw him in the simulator and demonstrate a maneuver, and the students can watch him both inside the cockpit and what the aircraft is doing. We also get people that are looking at that as a way to help advertise the simulator in a, you know, if the simulator is tucked away a little bit, but you can put a TV in a high traffic area, it's going to help draw attention to what you have.
So it sounds like there's a lot of, in terms of like just aircraft as well as sort of add-ons, and there's even more than we haven't really talked about that can be added on. So it's a little confusing potentially for people. And that's the downside of our Honda Civic pricing model, is that it's not just like done. But what's nice about it is you can build something that really fits the needs of that training operation and what their requirements are. And I think that it's important to note that that's really what you and Alex functionally do, is help a customer figure out what they need and then navigate our product catalog to build a tool that fits those needs really well. Right. You know, and you know, we should probably state this too. We don't really do outside sales, right? Like if you ever get a call from somebody, an unsolicited call from somebody claiming to be a sales rep for Redbird, they're not. I don't think we've really ever done that. Most of our stuff is inbound. So you call us, you say, hey, I got this problem. Hey, I got this. I want to try this out, and we'll help you build that package that'll really fit the needs of your operation.
Yeah. Now,
right, so
quickly, just as in terms on the outside sales, we do have international representatives. But
there you go.
If you get that phone call, go to our website and verify it.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, and if you're outside of the U.S., you may get a phone call, but that's not from. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about some kind of meat and potatoes. Power and space requirements. What do one of these sims need?
This is what's beautiful. It needs a standard wall outlet, 110, 120 volt outlet. The entire simulator is going to run off of that. Any commercial operation is usually going to have about a 20 amp circuit. The motion platform, I think at max draws about 14 amps. So in terms of infrastructure, it was designed so that nobody really needs to do any major renovations to their space. As far as space requirements go, the motion platform, for a 2-seat simulator needs 16 feet by 16 feet with an 8-foot ceiling, and that'll give you full range of motion with a little bit of safety factor. We've squeezed some in to some slightly smaller spaces, but generally speaking, it's not well advised. And if you're in that position where it's just a little bit too small, we also have an MX2, and I think that is something like 9 by 11 by 8 is what it can fit into. From there, you have things like the non-motion simulators, which can, I think the SD is about a 8-foot by 8-foot space. And then it's going to have the same power requirements as well.
Yeah, and on the power stuff, we normally at Oshkosh, when there is an Oshkosh, we have a booth, a big tent, and we plug in a bunch of sims into a circuit that's designed to run like trade show lights and displays. You know, it's not really designed for this, and it's outside on a GFCI, like a ground fault interrupt circuit and all this stuff. So we've actually got a lot of experience with making this equipment run on less than ideal power situations. So if you're concerned about it at all, that's definitely worth a call. We could probably figure it out. The motion platform really does not like a GFCI. What's happening is we're actually stepping up the power from 120 to 240, and if it gets out of phase, it'll pop that GFCI. And there is a cheat code around that, but we don't. If it's a permanent installation, you probably shouldn't do that. So try to get a non-GFCI outlet, and as far as draw, I think you said 14 amps is the max that FMX will draw, and I think in practical use, everyday use, it's probably closer to about 11 amps
Right.
because we have at shows run 2 motion platforms off of 120 amp circuit and not had any problems. So I mean, if you had 2 people in there just going crazy at the same time, maybe you could
in practice
20 amp. But if you're just doing normal operations, you can run 2 of them on 120 amp circuit. That's, again, the website says the 20 amp circuit. That's the official recommendation. But when you join the webinars, you get the inside information. So okay, great. Okay, we kind of already talked about the first half of this slide, delivery. I went out of order. We talked about that. Let's talk about our warranty and service stuff.
Sure.
How do I get it? How do I keep it from breaking?
Call us. If something is misbehaving for whatever reason, give us a call and we'll figure it out. After you take delivery over any of our products, you have a 1-year warranty. From a J all the way up to a King Air, you're talking to the same support staff that are very, very knowledgeable about our products and have been here for a long time. Connected to the internet, give us a call, give us your name, school name, serial number of the simulator, and within a matter of seconds, we can be inside the simulator figuring out what's going on. I would say 85–90% of the time it's software related, and we can fix it remotely. That other 10 or 15% where something hardware is malfunctioned, it's broken, it's come loose, we can either talk you through something or, under that initial warranty, ship it back to us and we'll take a look at it if needed. A lot of times time is a big consideration, so our support guys can talk you through opening up the box and making a physical adjustment. Then if you need a part that needs to be actually replaced, it can either be sent back to us where we repair it, or if we have a spare part, we could ship it out to you. Keep in mind, we manufacture just about everything here at the office. So all of the equipment that is used to build these things new can be sent out to an existing customer with very little lead time in order to get the sim up and running again.
Yeah, so I'm going to answer one quick question that came in, and then we'll talk about that. So Lori is just starting out, wants to learn it as a hobby, and what unit would you recommend? And I know what the sales guy would say, but I'm going to tell you before the sales guy talks. you should go on to Amazon.com and buy a cheap plastic yoke, set up a home sim, fly it for a few days, figure out if you liked it, if this is a thing you're willing to do and you want to do and it's for you, and then talk to us about maybe buying a J. But honestly, and then you can sell the cheap plastic yoke on eBay and get that money back. But we don't make entry-level products for home users, honestly. There is a whole band of products that are at a price point beneath ours that if you're just exploring this, I would feel really bad. And if you bought a $2,500 J and got into it and after a month said, man, this is not for me, I really just don't like this, and then you tried to return it to us or whatever, honestly, I would rather have you spend a month with some cheap stuff and figure out if it's a hobby that you like before you invest. And we'll definitely, if you call us tomorrow, we'll take your order. But I would suggest figuring out if it's something you really want to do beforehand.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, Mike, go ahead and answer. Tell me I'm wrong.
I'm sorry, what was where was I?
Okay, so actually let's talk real quick about, you said the initial warranty is 1 year?
Yes.
Tip to tail, everything included?
Right.
And then what about after that first year? How do I get service for that?
So I'll go up from the J. On the J and the TDs, all our desktop units, you can buy warranty extensions. At any time that you're under warranty, you can extend your warranty. So if you place an order for a J tomorrow, you can add a 1-year extension on there for 2 years total, or a 2-year extension for 3 years total. Or you can call us up 11 months from now and say, I want to extend my warranty. One of the unique things that we do, I don't know if I've ever heard of anybody else doing this, is you don't have to decide, like, oh, well, you only have one time to extend your warranty. We don't do that. As long as you're under warranty, you can extend your warranty. So let's say you get a 1-year warranty extension. You call us up 23 months later and say, I want to add on 2 years. Great, done. You call us up 2 years later and you want to add on 2 more. Great, done. So that's going to give you updates to any Redbird software. That's going to get you the same remote technical support. If something starts misbehaving, connect to the internet, call us up, we'll figure it out. And also hardware. If the monitor on the J goes out, we ship you a new one or try and repair it in-house. Now, domestically, that shipping is covered. Internationally, shipping is not covered. Then as far as the larger SIMs go, the LDs all the way up through the AMS, the advanced aviation training devices, those are a little bit different. And I'm going to try and not get too complicated with this, but think of it as a maintenance reserve, okay? At the end of 12 months, we're going to take a look at your Hobbs reading. And let's say, for the sake of simple math, you have 1,000 hours on that machine. And your warranty ended, this is July, so let's say at the end of June. July 1st, you signed up and you had 1,000 hours on your machine. July 31st, we're going to take a look at all of the simulators that we have that are connected to the internet and reporting start and stop times, and look at how much you've flown in the month of July. And let's say it's 100 hours, or the Hobbs reading is 1,100 hours. On August 5th, you're going to get an invoice for 100 hours. That way, it's designed for flight schools. So in theory, you're getting paid for the simulator usage as you're using it. So it's cash positive, right? You already have that money, and it's like you're setting away a portion of the hourly operating rate so that you can get maintenance on it as needed. There's 2 different levels of maintenance on our large sims. One of them is going to be covering remote support and Redbird software updates. The other one is going to cover remote support, software updates, and hardware as well. And again, domestic shipping is included, international is not. The price is going to vary based on whether it's software or whether you're getting hardware or not, and whether it's a motion platform or not. Long story short, if you have a motion platform, on the piston side of things, it's only $7.50 per flight hour to cover the machine.
Yeah, so, and I think that's one of the important things. That's essentially your billed on usage in the rears. So you never have to, well, let's start with historically, the way this other sim manufacturers have handled service agreements is on the anniversary of your purchase, they will send you an invoice for 5% of the purchase price, and that'll cover your service for that year. That obviously means that you have to write a check before you get paid for any of the training you're going to do that year. So we changed that a little bit so that you get an invoice every month. You can set it up to auto bill your credit card, and it's just based on what you actually used in the sim. There are some special edge cases where you can pre-purchase hours and get a different rate and all that kind of stuff, but that's a Michael question if you're interested in that.
I should also mention that there's no minimum flight time. So let's just say your school, you can't fly for a month. We're not going to invoice you and say, yeah, but you signed this agreement, so I'm sorry, you have to pay for this. It's going to say, looks like you didn't fly this month. You don't owe anything. So that I think is one of the really nice things that we do. And then there's actually an invoicing limit. And I always want to be careful of how I say that, because if you fly a certain amount in a 12-month period, and that's 1,400 hours under a standard agreement, you can still receive service. We just stop billing you for it. Now I mentioned 1,000 hours earlier for the sake of math. That's a pretty high time customer. And if you were crunching the numbers and you think you can use this simulator for about 1,200 hours or more in a year, then let us know, and we can talk about discounts on there for prepayment, like Josh was mentioning.
Yeah, exactly. And if it's a university or some other organization that operates in pre-funded POs and that kind of stuff, we can work around that too, if they're not able to do that sort of monthly billing.
Yeah, everybody's different.
Okay, so let's talk. All right, we already talked about tech support. Good job. Optional equipment, we kind of already covered that. Is there anything else you want to we got two questions here, actually. Let's talk about it. Simulators connected with Pilot Edge ATC. Can we do that?
Yes. A lot of our customers connect to Pilot Edge. We should be right now probably in a tent in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, connecting with Pilot Edge to get set up for Oshkosh. We've worked with them for, how long are we doing the PPC, Josh? 8 years now? 9 almost?
Yeah.
We connect with them in the Pilot Proficiency Center. So we've worked with them a lot. They are a third-party software. So into the nuances of, we don't support their products, but we work closely with them. Our support guys are well-versed in how their stuff works, but you'll have to have a Pilot Edge account. You'll have to set it up on your own, but our customers, a lot of them are using Pilot Edge.
Yeah, and I'll say on the product development side, even tighter integration with Pilot Edge is on our list of things to do soon. So there should be some news about that. Okay, another question from Ryan. His question is, he wants to know about the longevity of an AMS and upgrades as years go on. How long is a reasonable life expectancy of an AMS unit?
To be determined. Even the first ones that we made out in Florida are still there and operational. There's how do I put this properly? We don't want our simulators to become paperweights. They are designed so that they can be consistently supported or repaired or upgraded. Let's take the most common example, and that's the computer. The simulator operates on one main computer, whether that's desktop J, or TDs, Js, FMXs, MCXs, or AMSs. And over time, computers are computers. I mean, they're gonna slow down on you. So you can always call us up, and if the time's right, you can purchase a new computer. We ship it out to you, unplug everything, plug everything in on the new one, start it up, and you're gonna have the latest software that's coming out on brand new simulators, and you know, a brand new warranty on that box if you didn't have one already. That is the most common. Now, over time, we've also made changes to, let's say the big one that we did last year is the monitors. We went from 22-inch monitors to 27-inch monitors, and we have had, I'd say, a handful of our customers buy monitor upgrades. That's something that it's a fairly intense process. I mean, we can come out and do it. We're also building a instruction manual so our customers can do it themselves. But even, you know, FMX #1, that's just 30 minutes south of here, they got a new computer, I think 2 years ago, and if they wanted to, they could update their monitors to 27 inches. So longevity, I don't know.
Yeah, so I think it's a good point. The thing that breaks first and most often and needs to be repaired is the computer. I would say, just if I owned a flight school, I would budget to buy a new computer every 3 to 5 years,
Yeah.
both in terms of performance and reliability. Somewhere in that 3 to 5 year range, you probably got to budget a new computer, and it's like $5,500 or something for a large sim. And then as far as the other hardware goes, we've fundamentally changed the design of just about every component on the sim over the last 11 years. But every time we do an upgrade, we create an upgrade path, or we roll a change into new production, we create an upgrade path for existing customers if they wanted to go to the newest version. So there's nothing that is like an unsupported obsolescence that is just like, it's now a paperweight, you can't do anything with it.
Sorry.
So we really haven't run into a point as of yet where we're saying this is done, we can't do it on the hardware side. On the software side, we have some early computers that were based on Windows 7, and Microsoft has stopped supporting that. So we kind of had to roll our support off of it as well, because we can't guarantee security and all that kind of stuff. But again, that's on the computer side. Plan on every 3 to 5 years. I will say there are people that are running 7 or 8 year old computers right now. But I would personally budget for every 3 to 5 years for a new computer.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's it. I think we got all the questions answered. The main thing, if you have any more questions, mpickford@redbirdflight.com or info@redbirdflight.com, and the website is redbirdflight.com. Okay, Doug came back. He wanted to know about Pilot Edge. The quick answer, Doug, is yes, it works with Pilot Edge. It works okay for right now. We work with them all the time, but we probably will be making it an even better connection in the future. So, okay, I think that's it. Thanks for your time, Mike. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks to everybody for coming.